Hey, what's going on? Chris here from MIXDOWN Online, and today for video number 4 of our Mix Your Vocals series, we're gonna talk about saturation. Let's talk about saturation. I love working and mixing with saturation. So what is saturation? Very simple. If you take an analog device and you just overdrive the signal into that device, at some point your signal is going to start to break up and to distort, and this is what saturation is. In the analog world, this is a good thing. In the digital world, this is not very good, because if you go past the digital limit of 0 dBFS, you're going to get some digital clipping, and this is not a very good thing. But in the analog world, when you drive your sound too much and you get to that point where your sound gets distorted, it's a good thing. It adds up harmonics, some thickness, some warmth to the sound, and it controls the transients as well. Sometimes a sound can sit better in the mix with some saturation. Take a tape machine, for example, and this is some stuff that producers and mixers used to do when working with tape machines. They used to just drive the input into that tape machine to get that natural saturation that creates harmonics, a bit of natural compression, some thickness to your sound. We're lucky enough to have like good tools within DAWs like tape emulation plugins, tube saturation plugins that are available in most DAWs. So I'm going to use those tools to add some saturation to my vocals, just to add up a bit more harmonics to my sound, to control my sound better, to have my sound, my vocal sound, to sit better in my mix, and to smooth the sound a bit more. But before we jump in, share, like, and subscribe if you're new here on the channel, and click that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Alright, so let's jump in Cubase. Okay, first let's have a quick listen to the song we are going to work on today.
It's my condition, my complication. There's something in me out of position.
So that's the same song we've listened to in the other videos of this series. Now, the first plugin that I like to use as far as saturation goes is a tape emulation plugin. And the one I'm going to be using today is the Studer from UAD, which is one of my favorite tape simulation plugin. But you can also use Magneto 2, that is a stock plugin out of Cubase, or if you're working in another DAW, there's probably a tape simulation plugin in your DAW. So you can use any plugins you want as far as tape simulation goes. But the one I'm going to be working with today is the one from UAD. So let's add a bit of saturation out of this tape. I'm going to solo my vocal track so you can hear the effect of that type of saturation. And now I would say try to listen with some good speakers or a good pair of headphones if you want to notice the difference, because I'm going to work this type of saturation on the subtle side. So let's have a quick listen.
It's my condition, my complication. There's something in me out of position.
Okay, so basically the more input I add, the more signal comes into the tape machine. And so what I do after, I just balance the output. So I get the same level when I bypass the plugin.
It's my condition, my complication. There's something in me out of position. It's no intention.
Now I just overdid it so you can hear the type of saturation I'm getting with this plugin. So I'm going to be a bit more subtle for this track. And using a tape as a first plugin on a chain, on my vocal chain, this is something I do on a lot of different tracks. Okay, I love starting a mix by adding some tape simulation plugins. On most of my tracks, can be drum, bass, guitars, vocals, of course, and keyboards, especially keyboards. I love adding saturation on keyboards. It just smooths my sound out, which I like.
It's my condition, my complication. There's something in me out of position. It's no intention, this condescension.
Okay, it's a bit more warm, I would say, so I kind of like how that sounds. I'm going to close that plugin, and now let's have a quick listen in the context of the mix.
It's my condition, my complication. There's something in me out of position. It's no intention, this condescension.
Now the sound is a bit more controlled, and I just love the thickness it gave to the vocals. That's the thing with saturation. You don't need to add a lot for it to be effective, like in this case. So now let's go at the end of my chain, and I'm going to show you my second saturation plugin. And this one is called Decapitator. And I can use this plugin to add some light saturation or even distortion if I want to. It's a very nice plugin. I love working with this plugin. But again, you can use any stock plugin that is included in your DAW. Like in Cubase, there's the tube saturation plugin. There's Quadraphase you can use as well, which is a very good multi-band saturation plugin. But on my side, I love working with Decapitator. So this is what we're going to work with today. And I have like a bunch of settings, but I'm just going to concentrate on the drive knob. And then we're going to look at the mix knob right here. So for now, the drive is like the input we've seen on the saturation plugin, on the first plugin of this video. So I'm going to drive the input a bit to see what kind of saturation we get with this plugin. So let's bring the vocals in solo.
It's my condition, my complication. There's something in me out of position. It's no intention, this condescension. I'm seeing clearly my imperfection.
You can drive it like crazy. I can even, drive it more if I want to by clicking on the punish button.
It's my condition, my complication.
So that can be cool for a special effect, depending on what you're doing in your mix. But for this one, I'm not going to use the punish option. So let's drive this down to find a sweet spot.
It's my condition, my complication. There's something in me out of position. It's no intention, this condescension. I'm seeing clearly my imperfection.
Okay, that sounds pretty good, I think. So let's listen to it in the context of the mix.
It's my condition, my complication. There's something in me out of position. It's no intention, this condescension. I'm seeing clearly my imperfection.
Okay, that sounds good. So again, you add that to your taste. What I like to do is to add a bit less during a verse, and sometimes I'm just going to bring more saturation in choruses. This is something I can do with automation. So you just experiment with this, even if it's very, very subtle, just to add a bit of thickness and to get those extra harmonics that shapes the sound pretty nicely, like it does right now. So this is something I like to do. Now let's try to work with saturation, but in parallel, okay? Like I did with compression on the last video, we're going to do the same here with the saturation plugin. Something I can do, I can create an effects channel track, insert a saturation plugin, and send my signal to that effects channel track as a send effect. But in this case, since Decapitator has a mix knob, I'm going to take advantage of this and just use this instead of creating myself an effects channel track. I'm going to find my sweet spot by working with the mix knob. Okay, so I'm going to just overdrive it a bit, and let's put that in solo.
It's my condition, my complication.
And now I'm going to bring the mix knob down.
It's my condition, my complication.
If I bring it way down, I'm only going to get the dry signal.
Out of position, it's no intention, this condescension. I'm seeing clearly my imperfection. I see that I.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. Let's listen to it in the context of the mix.
It's my condition, my complication. There's something in me out of position. It's no intention, this condescension. I'm seeing clearly my imperfection. I see that I.
So there you go. This is how I use saturation on vocals. I hope that was helpful. Again, you don't need to use a lot, okay? Just a minimum of saturation is going to help. In some situation, depending on what you're mixing, you're going to add more. It could be only for a part of a song or for a special effect where you're going to just overdrive the signal and create an effect. There's time to be creative with saturation, and there's also time to be a bit more subtle and just to enhance your sound. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave everything down below. And again, don't forget to share, to like, and to subscribe to this channel. So I'm gonna see you on the next video of this Mix Your Vocals series, and on the next video we'll talk about reverb.